Welcome to Taking Care of Business on News Talk 1180 KERN for the best in Saturday Talk Radio at 1 o'clock and on 1230 KGEO at 10 o'clock Saturday and for the best in Wednesday Talk Radio on 1410 KERI, the Christian station. We're now on 1000 KKIM in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and also 3 times a week on the internet nationwide through knuckmedia.com. Plus, you can catch any of Clay and my shows for the last 4 years at Clay and Marty Show.
.com.
Your host is Clay Koerner, and I'm Marty Pay, and our producer is Greg Held. So, Clay, it seems just like yesterday, we had a great show with Roger Ruffman, author of Marijuana Nation.
Actually, it was last week, and it did seem like yesterday, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Also, we had a great interview with David Horowitz, author of The Great Betrayal. He's an interesting character.
Horowitz, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
What a turnaround from a red diaper baby to where he is today.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. We've got a great show lined up today. In the second half, we have former Marine sniper, author of Take Command, Lessons in Leadership. But our first guest is a gentleman we've had the pleasure of having on several times before, our Hollywood reporter, James Hirsen, talking about the recent hack attacks. James, welcome back to Taking Care of Business.
Hey, great to be with you. Hey, what a great segue, from Marijuana Nation to the marijuana actor Seth Rogen. Perfect. Because that's what this hack attack is all about, a Seth Rogen movie, and it's growing. This is a continuing investigation, a continuing story, but it's all but certain that the government of North Korea engineered an attack based on the content of an private entertainment company, a significant company in the United States, and has been so successful in the hack, they literally shut down the operations of the company, have been able to release films onto the internet that the company hadn't released yet.
Wow.
And released executive salaries. And the most recent release was of the salaries of those involved with the making of the film, The Interview. That's why I say it's all but certain, because North Korea has been issuing bellicose statements ever since the entertainment media began to publicize this idea that Seth Rogen and James Franco would be in this comedy, which would feature the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un. And I should tell you this: The Interview, which comes out Christmas Day. Here's the premise: you've got a producer and an anchor of a tabloid television show, kind of a TMZ television show, and they stumble into getting an exclusive interview with Kim Jong-un. They are recruited by the CIA to assassinate him, and laughter ensues. But the guy who plays Kim Jong-un, of course, is a portly, spoiled brat, dictator, cigar-smoking jerk, which is a good description of Kim Jong-un.
I was going to say, and the problem is,
it still upsets him, and so the government that he controls has been issuing letters to the UN, statements by their official news agency. They've called the film an act of war. They have issued threats, and up until this release, when it was just releasing salaries, when it was just releasing entertainment material onto the internet, there were questions. There were even stories in the entertainment press saying, well, this is probably Sony insiders who are upset with the company. But the fact that they focused on this movie, and of course, one of the key things is the government of North Korea has denied that they did the hack. That's almost proof that they did, with that government. They have almost as little credibility as our own government.
I was going to say, it sounds like our own government, doesn't it?
Yeah. But in any case, it's going to end up being certainly it's the largest in the history of the entertainment business. It may be one of the most serious cyber attacks that we've ever had, and it's an act of war. Yes. Because when a government from a foreign country launches something like this, people just have to understand this. This is exactly the same as if they bombed a building and destroyed property. We're talking about here anywhere from tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damage, because I saw a report that indicated that Sony is going to spend something in excess of $10 million just to deal with the technological fixes that they have to do to their entire computer network. But when you think about one of the films that the hackers released was Fury, a recent movie with Brad Pitt, pretty good box office on that movie, and it's all over the internet. I mean, millions of downloads, and that's going to cut into sales, and that causes huge damage. Another big film was a remake of Annie, which I don't even think has been released yet. And then you have, I mean, a lot of people say, well, it's free publicity for this movie, The Interview, which is true, but the costs make that publicity way too expensive.
We're having a conversation with James Hirsen, our Hollywood reporter, about the recent hack attack against Sony.
So has our president drawn a red line in the sand on this one?
Well, we better hope he doesn't use that language.
Yeah.
But, we do have a cyber, national security force headed up by both member of Congress, part of the Pentagon, but I just don't think it's... I think we're behind both. Number one, we're behind in terms of the ability to defend against it, which is a daily activity, as people in the tech world know, because it's a war that continues every day. The hackers coming up with new ways to pierce various kinds of technological protection, and it's just like on our own personal computers, where we're constantly having to download new malware prevention software, except to a much greater scale. But the other thing we have to have is an offense. A punk like Kim Jong-un has to know that if he does this, which, by the way, he used hackers in China, which next to our country are the best in the world, probably Russia is a third. But the fact is, there has to be an offense. We could take down North Korean computers pretty easily. Come on, Anonymous, let's go. Well, in any case, we need to have a swift, powerful response to deter this kind of thing, because we're increasingly becoming a country that's dependent on the cloud, computer networks for our power grid, for our business transactions. There's a whole lot of ways that we're vulnerable in this area, and yeah, it's an area, another one in the long list of things that are neglected when our leadership is involved with fundraising and playing golf.
Maybe if our president would just go and apologize to North Korea, we wouldn't have all these problems.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, really. Or we could have that special envoy go to North Korea, Dennis Rodman. He should be able to, he's buddies with Kim Jong-un. He says that Kim Jong-un is just this great dude. I don't know what they do together. I probably watch movies. But, by the way, Kim Jong-un's father, you remember him, the late Kim Jong-il, another, self-aggrandizing dictator. We're getting used to seeing these people, even in Washington, D.C. But
yeah.
He was a movie buff. He was obsessed with movies. And it's kind of interesting, just as a side note, totalitarian dictators understand the power of entertainment, and they have through history. Hitler had Leni Riefenstahl, Oscar-winning director making propaganda films.
Yep.
Stalin was so obsessed with American movies, of course, he sent people to infiltrate Hollywood, and he put a hit on John Wayne. Unsuccessful hit, but he was obsessed with it. This guy, Kim Jong-il, kidnapped a film director from South Korea and had forced him to make propaganda films. The guy escaped. Kim Jong-il was having tantrums quite a bit during his time, and one of his biggest tantrums came from what I think is an incredibly funny film, Team America World Police, which came out in 2004, which was the guys from South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. It was an all-marionette movie, and Kim Jong-il was portrayed as this insecure guy who sang songs alone, and that he was secretly from another planet, and it was a cockroach disguised as a human being. Now, Kim Jong-il didn't like that depiction and tried to get the film banned. So this is like a tradition in North Korea. And North Korea has engaged in hacking attacks. Just last year, they hacked 3 television stations in South Korea.
And a couple
shut
of
them
banks.
down.
Yeah, and a couple of banks.
And
as well.
banks, yeah. So the ATM machines were down. And so they've got connections with some talented Chinese hackers. And I think, they're going to, we have some very, very clever people in this private sector that Sony has retained. I think the company is called Exploit. They're going to find out where this emanated from. They can pierce all the anonymous proxies and everything.
Yeah.
And we'll find out that in the end that it was North Korea. North Korea, what else can they do
James,
except that?
We got to take a quick break, and then we come back. I want to talk a little bit about what effect this is going to have on national security. We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180.